Welcome to the Mother-Daughter-ish podcast.
Your mama's favorite podcast.
And the podcast your daughter always wanted.
Let's talk about it. I gotta admit, mother and daughter are always greater when they're together. Everything's better. Mother and daughter, oh, they're the greatest duo. Mother and daughter, oh, they're the greatest duo.
Do you experience issues or any sleep disorders? What about PMS? Any chronic joint pain relief needed? Or migraine relief needed? Well, don't panic, it's organic, baby! Certified Hip Hut is a natural path to good health. Stop by and let us cook you a great meal in-house or to go. Also, please keep in mind, when you visit Certified Hip Hut's location and make an in-house purchase, you will receive a variety of samples to try out. Everyone loves samples, I know I do. Come check us out at our location. We're at 3422 Farm to Market 2920, and that's in Spring, Texas 77388.
Start your very own 501c3 tax-exempt fundable organization today. I've got a few questions for you. Have you ever wondered why over 91 U.S. major companies pay zero in taxes? We're talking about major companies such as Amazon, Duke Energy, Eli Lilly, FedEx, Delta Airlines, MGM Resorts, and even Starbucks. Are you ready to start your very own freedom plan and write your own paycheck and create a legacy that outlives you? Do you want to make a big impact in the world and be paid for what makes you wake up excited to do daily? Well, don't hate the players. Just learn the rules to the game and become a master at creating your own legacy. Rule number 1. Start your very own 501c3 tax-exempt fundable organization today. Contact Ms. Dawn when you're ready and learn how to do this and learn about local, national, and federal grants to support your ideas. Guess what? You'll also receive $500 off of your fee by mentioning this ad. My name is Ms. Dawn. I live in Katy, Texas, and I've been a business development consultant since 1998. Give me a call so I can help you. Wow, today we're going to have some conversations about your born day. So the day that you were born.
Yeah, buddy.
I mean, I don't even know if people have this conversation, because I can honestly say I've maybe tried to ask this conversation, and I'm going to tell you in a minute what the answer is I just got yesterday. It's kind of funny. But we're going to have a conversation today about your day of birth, the oldest child. So much drama, and I think that might be why you love drama now, because your birth was just so much. It was good drama though, you know.
Yeah.
So
I wonder how many people have asked about their birthing process.
I don't know. I've never had a conversation with another adult about this, so I don't know. I asked my mom yesterday, was there anything exciting or anything different or anything that I should know about my day of birth, and she said, you were born. So
like, that's it.
I was like, okay, and I moved on, because I was just like, I never asked that question. And so I think that me asking her that question now probably is weird, because here I am, you know, where I am, and I'm asking about birthday. And you know, the thing about it, I will give this advice or this to any person. If you actually want to know those things, ask those things when you are younger. I'm going to tell you why. Because when you're younger, it's still fresh in the brain of your parent. When you are younger, you don't have to worry about maybe some of the details getting distorted. When you are younger, and when I say younger, I'm talking about before you're 30 years old, you want to ask your parents, you know, or whoever was there when you were birthed, what that whole process was like, because later on people forget, the details get distorted. I think the only reason why I know the details like it was yesterday is because I've been asked that question before. I've said these things before. You probably don't remember because you were young, but I've told this story so many times because it was so funny to me, actually. So had you ever thought about asking that question?
I have not, but I have thought about the recordings, like the video cassette tapes that we do have of our childhood. So I mean, that's what has me thinking. Like, I remember my first birthday video.
Right.
I definitely remember that vividly.
Right.
But
is that the Princess one?
I think it was a ballerina thing.
Yeah, ballerina, right? Ballerina.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you thought ballerinas were so cute, and I thought they were too. And okay, so every mother has this thing about her daughter of like she wants her to either be a princess or a ballerina or whatever. And I was like, oh, she would make such a cute little ballerina. You know how little kids, have you ever seen kids like go to ballerina class and stuff like that?
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
what I was thinking, like, oh, I'd be so honored to have a little ballerina. You were just like, look, this is cute and all, but I'm not going to be your ballerina. Hey, remember when I used to have you in those beauty pageants?
Yes, I was just telling one of my friends' mom the other day, because her daughter, she's really cute. She's really into like glamour, and she be trying on my heels and stuff. But yeah, I think about that all the time. All the pageants I done been to. I had my cousin walk me down on one of them, like escort me. I remember it.
Well, I'm going to tell you a little secret about that. And I don't know if you ever knew this or not. And I'm not gonna use the name of the celebrity, but I'm gonna tell it. I'll tell you later in your ear. But I remember you did pageants since you were probably before tween, before 10 or 11 or whatever, and you loved doing pageants. You thought it was fun because you got to meet a lot of girls. We got to go to a lot of hotels and all that kind of stuff. And so, what turned you off from the pageants? And you said, I'm not doing this anymore. And I was like, what did I say?
You said okay.
I said okay, because it was like, I don't want to be one of those parents who's living through their child by doing all these things, because we couldn't afford to do beauty pageants when I was growing up. I mean, first of all, you knew you couldn't afford to do it, so you just didn't even ask.
Right.
So it just wasn't even an option. So when we started doing the beauty pageants, and I remember we went to the DoubleTree. We went to the DoubleTree Hotel, and at the hotel was the biggest pop star there ever was. She was there for an event, for a concert, and we were there for the beauty pageant, and every single little girl wanted to be near and touch this pop star. All of y'all ran up to her, and she was like, ew, get away from me, kids. And that turned you off so bad. And I think it turned you off because you weren't raised to, have people do you like that or talk to you like that, or because you thought this pop star was so cool and so awesome. I think that you probably felt like, okay, she's not really a nice person or something like that. So it's just interesting that turned you off to the point that you said, I'm not doing pageants anymore.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you who that celebrity is. Or do you remember?
I don't think I remember.
Okay, I'm going to mouth it to you.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah. Nuh-uh. Promise. I wish I could tell you the year. I could tell you the hotel was the DoubleTree Hotel in Greenfield. I don't know. I think because it turned you off. It turned you off to the point that you said to me that day, you said, I don't want to do beauty pageants anymore. I said, okay. It's the same thing with your sister. She went to acting classes for over 7 years, and right when they got to the point that they said, we're getting ready to do your photos so that we can send them to Disney and all these places, you know what she said? She said, okay, I'm ready. And the lady said, but now you can't straighten your hair. You have to wear it curly. And your sister Peyton, she said, no, I'm not wearing my hair, because she hated her hair then. She loves it now, but she hated it then. And she said, no, I'm not wearing my hair curly. And they said, well, that's what they're looking for, is they're looking for black girls with curly hair that's really, really cute, nice, cute little plump cheeks. She said, I don't care who they're looking for. I'm not doing it. And you know what? She looked at me and she said, if I have to take pictures with my natural hair, I'm not doing it anymore. And you know what I said? Okay. And we got out of there, because I felt like if she was bold enough to give up her life dream that she had told me since she was 3 years old, I would say 5 or 6 years old, that she wanted to be an actress. And I felt like if she had that conviction, it took me back to you. It took me back to what you said when you said that person's name that I just mentioned. You walked up to her to get a handshake, because all y'all little girls want a handshake. Maybe about 30 of y'all, maybe about 36 or so. And y'all walked up to that pop star, and she said, ew, get away from me, kids. Ew, disgusting. And your heart was broken. And the reason we're not going to say the person's name is because that's not the type of podcast we are.
Was that before or after that person had kids?
Oh, no, this was way before. So remember, you were like literally like 8 or 9 years old. So she was still a teenage pop star, but the biggest pop star in the entire universe. So, in America, I guess I could say, because I don't know what goes on in other countries, but she was big. So anyway, so for you, babies or no?
Right now, absolutely not. And when I say not...
and now you mean like you're 27, so...
Absolutely not.
You know, that's so funny that you have that perspective, because I confess that, okay, of course, you know, your dad and I dated from I was 14 and he was 16.
Mm-hmm.
But I really at 18 years old decided, okay, I would love to have a child. And the only reason that happened is because I didn't want kids before then. I thought it was just the most disgusting thing in the world to have another human being, yet you're responsible for making sure they live. that's ridiculous, Samantha. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So my little nephew Lorenzo was born, and he was the cutest thing I'd ever seen on the entire planet. And I said, oh, this right here changed my mind. He was absolutely adorable. He was the cutest little sweet baby you have ever seen in your life. And I was like, you know what? And he was so close to us because his mom was off at school and everything. So he lived, you know, everything we did, he was there. And so because he was so cute, I then at that point changed my mind about when I was 18 years old. And I said, you know what? I think I will, you know, marry and have kids or whatever. But before that, I did not want kids. So at that point, I said, okay, I do want to have children, but I want to have a whole bunch of kids before I'm 30. So for you to say absolutely not at 27, I'm like, oh my God, where my mind was at 27. At 27, I already had 3 babies.
Yeah.
And one in the belly. So, because you're going to be 28, you know, next year. So I already had three kids. So for you to say absolutely not, what makes you say that? And I know because it's real life. I mean, it's not easy as people make it seem, because I know I make it seem easy, because when people tell me they can't believe I have 4 kids, they think I have none, and they think I'm supposed to either be a drunk or I'm supposed to have a head full of gray hair or something.
I think for me, it's because I've been newly single for a year now, and I was in a 6-7 year relationship that should have ended at the 30-year mark. But
exactly, we'll be talking about that on our next podcast.
Yeah, I'm at a selfish stage right now where
you know what? Wait a minute. That is something very important that you just said.
Yeah.
For those young ladies out there and all those ladies that are really, really selfish and into themselves and really don't like to share, let me tell you something. A baby is gonna ruin your whole thought process, because everything will be about that baby, about that child, about their needs. And you know what? I actually had a very nice young gentleman. I can't tell you what his name is because his father is one of the biggest motivational speakers in the world, but he had put out a post about what's the one thing that you would share with any man who's getting ready to have his first baby. And I sent him a message because he asked, and I said, just remember, nothing is about you from this day forward. When people come to your house, they did not come to see you anymore. They came to see the baby. Mm-hmm. When they give you gifts, it will be for the baby.
Yeah.
So I when you said that you're in a selfish stage, I was like, at least you know. But at 27, most people don't know.
Yeah. I remember I was getting my lashes done for the first time maybe like last month or so, and we were talking about kids. And I mean, it's different when you're in a relationship, in a healthy one, for a long time, and your mindset might change. But for me, I'm not even thinking about relationships or nothing. But we had talked about something. She was also saying she's selfish as well. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to have to be choosing between a lash refill and if my child need diapers, because that child's got to go without diapers.
Oh my God. You know what? You're gonna have to bring my grandbaby to me.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's a real thing, because actually when you think about it, you do have to make those decisions. It kind of makes me sad, because I think about all the seminars and things I've done in the senior citizen community, you know, teaching them about extra help and all that stuff. Remember, we used to go to those seminars, and the one thing that they started, Meals on Wheels started giving meals to senior citizens and their pets, because what they discovered is that the seniors were giving the pets the food and neglecting themselves. So what you're saying is that the pet gonna have to go if it was you, huh?
Yeah.
But no, people do have to decide, do I get diapers for my baby, or do I do something selfish for myself? And here's the thing, there's no judgment on whatever that thing is. The point is that you want what you want, right? But then the baby wants what it wants and needs, right?
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you're mature enough actually to know that right now you're going to do whatever you got to do to make sure you have no kids, because you're in a selfish mood right now, right?
Yeah.
And that could change whenever.
Yeah, it could. I mean, and I was also in a 6-7 year relationship where I was not putting myself first. So right now, if it's not really about me, I don't want to talk about it or do anything or get out of my bed if it ain't got nothing to do with me.
Right.
So yeah, that's where I'm at right now, and I've been there for about a year now. So yeah.
You know, it really makes me wonder, because like they said, there's a comedian, and his favorite line is, who raised you? And I love when he says that, because I remember, you know, even saying to my mom, you know, how you raise your kids, does reflect you to a certain point, but once you let them go and they're on their own, it really does not reflect you. They're going to always still come back to what you taught them, but they're going to also make their own way and make their own decisions. So making your own decisions on whatever you want to do and however you want to do it once you leave your mom's house, that's really your business. And that's one of the reasons why I sleep well at night, because I don't worry about what decisions you guys are making, because it's like, I know what I taught them, I'm done, hey, whatever they need, we can talk about it, but they're still got to make their own way. And hasn't it taught you lessons, though? If you're saying that you should have been gone at year 3, but you stayed another 4 years, now what you will and won't do the next time.
I leave at the first red flag first.
Right. Which is sad, but you got to do that, because if you don't, then you end up staying too long. I've been there, I've done that, I've stayed too long. I mean, it happens. We'll talk more about that staying too long stuff in our next podcast on relationships, so make sure you guys join us for our next podcast on relationships. Now look, if this conversation is getting good to you, do yourself a favor. Why don't you ask your mom what your born day was like? Ask her leading up to it. Ask her before you even were conceived. Ask about that conversation, not just to be nosy, but just so you know. Like me, I keep a journal. I have journals ever since I was in elementary school. I could pull them all out right now, from 5th grade all the way to today's date. I have journals of things that I want to remember. I have calendars, things I've done, places I've been. Have that conversation with your mom about your birthday and all the things that happened leading up to it and on the day that it actually happened. But if you're liking this conversation, before we get to the good stuff, make sure that you subscribe to our podcast so that you will know when we're coming on, when we're going to go live. Make sure you know all of that. Make sure you share it. And what else do they need to do?
And turn your notifications on for
right.
sure, so you know that we're, like she said, getting ready to post something, or you'll know right when we have posted something. So
yeah, we have so many opportunities for you to be able to join us and listen to what we have to say. And again, in the end, what we want to do is we want to make the conversation come alive. We want you to have these conversations with your moms. We want you to have these conversations with your daughters and build that relationship through knowing, because guess what? Last time I checked, none of us are going to be here forever. And it's great to have the memories. I can tell you right now, I wish I knew who my ancestors were.
Right.
Let's just say from the 1400s and up. I wish I knew who I'm like. I wished I knew who I already know. People tell me I walk like my grandma, but who does she walk like? I already know who I look like. I look like my mom, and I know that she looked like her mom, but where does all that come from? I would love to know the people in my family and stories about, stories, man, I would love to know some of those stories about who met who in the 1400s and ended up, boom, right here. Like, I am so nosy when it comes to that kind of history. Now, I think that in school, I did not like history because it never seemed like history that I was interested in. I felt like it was not something that made me come alive, and that's just the honest truth. So it's not that I didn't like it. It was just that it felt like the school was giving me their version of what they wanted me to learn, and that until you got to college, then you could choose other type of history or archaeology, all those type of things, which I took that in community college. But what I really would love to know is the stories about my particular ancestors. I've done the 23andMe, and you're going to do yours, and we're going to talk about that live on a podcast. And I also have started looking into who was who. I found a lot on my dad's side of the family, but not a lot on my mom's side of the family. Like I said, ask these questions early on in your family, then that way nobody forgets, or people don't get the stories distorted and all that. So what are some of the stories? Have you even heard any stories from any of your friends about when they were born, or have you been around any of your friends who have had babies that there's like interesting stories?
As far as any friends, I do have one friend. She not always tells me, but I remember a couple times she has said that she remembers the actual moment of her coming out of her mom's womb.
Wow.
And she's also, I think she's really only my only other friend that's as intuitive as me.
Now, Monk says he remembers. That show Monk I used to love?
Yeah.
He said he remembers coming through his mother's birth canal, and when they did him on hypnosis, he went back through the whole birth. And I was like, this is why I love Monk, because he's the right kind of crazy. I love that show. But so she said that she remembers coming out of her mother's birth canal.
Yeah.
And is this something she discovered on her own? Was this something that she did some enhancement to?
No, so I think she discovered it on her own, and I think she I think she also remembers feeling her mom's emotions while she was in her belly as well.
That's a real thing right
Yeah.
there. Yeah. You know, I tell people right now that I do not do trauma bonding.
Yeah.
You know, when people want to come to you and complain about, let's just say somebody wants to come in and complain about their mom, they're not going to do it with me.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you why, because no matter how much you complain, that's still your mom.
Right.
So you can complain all day long, but you will not get an amen from me ever on complaining about your mother, your father, or anything like that, because there's nothing you're going to change. Your DNA, everything is still flowing through your blood, is flowing through you, baby. So you can say you hate certain things, but there are going to be things that you're going to be just like that person. And the more you complain about it, the more you actually become like that. So that's interesting. So what else have your friends, what about any of your friends that have had babies, that they have like any drama surrounding it? And when I say drama, I'm talking about good or bad. It doesn't matter. Drama
Not
can be
necessarily.
exciting.
Not necessarily drama, but I mean, I know one of my best friends, she still has back pain from her epidurals. It was mainly the first one. I think that her chiropractor told her she needs to go like 5 times a week.
But you know, that's a real thing. And here's what I've learned at my age that I am now. The body has a great recall and
Yeah.
a great memory. And you're 27 years old, you're the oldest child, but every 4 or 5 years, I'll get a pain in my back where the epidural needle was in there. And it'll be subtle. But it reminds me, remember when you had that epidural on the first one? I didn't do it on the other 3. But on you, because, well, I'll talk about why, but that pain does come back every so many years, and it just lets me know that I did that, in which I never really wanted to do that, but I did. So that's interesting. I think if I had a birth story, it's going to definitely be all of the people that I've known throughout my life that have had children that either they had a lot of morning sickness or they had a lot of kicking from the baby and pain and things like that. I never went through any of that except with the last child, your sister. And a lot of people get like high blood pressure. They get all kinds of issues that happen with them birthing the baby, and a lot of weight gain. Some do a lot of weight loss depending on where they are in the pregnancy. But there's a lot of different stories that people tell, and I listen up because I find it interesting, even if they don't maybe want to tell those stories. So are you ready to hear about your birthday?
I sure am.
Interesting. As nosy as you are, you never asked when you were younger, because you were kind of nosy, but you were quiet. So anyway. But like I said, I always knew that I wanted to have a lot of kids, and I hate saying what I'm about to say because it is a truth, but it offends your brothers.
It's crazy that you say you just know you want a lot of kids. I see kids and I immediately remind myself to take birth control. I'll be like, yeah,
No, when I was about 18, I decided I wanted 6 children.
Yeah, no.
By the time I was 21 and about to be married, I decided I wanted 6 girls. The reason I wanted girls is because I felt like boys would be a little difficult. They'd be a little bit more hard-headed. I felt like I could put the fear in girls, and they would understand, and we could go shopping all the time and do all the girly stuff and go to get the nails done. You know, 6 girls, that would cost $3,000 to get nails done. But anyway, all I know is that I was a Barbie girl. Like, I only had Barbie dolls, and like me and Barbie, we had this little thing where I was in her world, you know. And so forget about Ken. He was there, but he was a non-factor to me, because my Barbies, I had exciting Barbies like Brooke Shields' Barbie doll. I had all the celebrity Barbie dolls back then, and they were the original ones. I'm probably sure if I sold them now, I could get absolutely rich off of selling those dolls, because they're still in pristine shape, and they are in cases and boxes that are never to be seen by the public until I decide if I would want to sell them in 100 years. But anyway, so I knew by the time I was 21 I wanted 6 girls. Now again, I don't like saying that, but it is the truth, and I have to speak my truth. I don't like saying that because I've said it before, and your brothers really roll their eyes, especially the oldest brother. He's just like, it almost makes him feel like I never wanted a boy. But it's not about that. It was just that at 21 I felt like boys would be too rough for me, and I just felt like girls were more easygoing, more just easier to handle instead of roughhousing. I'm not a roughhouse chick, so I didn't want to do that. And also, selfishly, I do not like sports at all, and I never wanted to be involved in that. Like, I have discontinued relationships with people because they love sports so much that it annoyed me. So I did not want to be into the football, the basketball, and whatever the other name of those other sports that everybody loves that I could care less. I know nothing about anything on sports, and I don't care to know. So I did know for a fact by the age of 21 that I did want 6 children, and I would have taken 10.
21, I was in New Orleans taking shots back to back off of Bourbon Street, singing on the stages.
So
I wouldn't think about no kid.
So I am the age that I am, that you know I am, and I've never had a shot of anything. So
That's gotta change.
No. I've never had a shot, so I don't know. Now, don't get me wrong. Here's the myth that people think when you have kids, your life is over. It depends on how you manage your life, because guess what? I stopped going to clubs probably at 25 years old. Simply because my life took a big change at 25. As an entrepreneur, I decided I wanted to be the first millionaire in my family. So my thought process was raising children and raising businesses at that point, right? So I didn't care about going to clubs. I had already clubbed so much by that point that if I never went to another club in my life, I have enough stories to last the rest of my life. You know, all the Bayou Classics and all of the parades and all of the every culture club you could think of, Jamaica clubs, all kind of clubs. I've got those stories behind me because there was a time that I went to a club every single night.
Yeah, no.
For a year. I mean, I was a dancing queen. Yeah, but when you give it up, you give it up. Like, I don't even go to people's birthday parties that have them at clubs anymore because that scene is just not for me. Because what I learned is that if you go to clubs, especially when you're single, if you go to clubs, then the club guys are going to talk to you. If you meet them in the club, they probably are going to stay in the club. So I'm not interested in meeting someone in an element of where I don't want my husband to have been found.
I'm more of like a hookah bar, strip club type environment. I'm not like
I
a
have
club.
never been to a female strip club, which I know you have been to. I've never been to one. I used to go to the male strip clubs when I was younger, but I have never done a hookah. I had to look it up on Google to see what it was. I don't even know what that is. But the more I keep hanging around these old children that I have, y'all, I'm learning about stuff that I just didn't even, you know. I know that I wanted a big fat, cute baby. I knew that everything had to be so perfect. I mean, and I'm going to tell you, I got everything I wanted. I got a big old fat, cute, round baby. And I'm telling you, it was like when I was 18 and I said, okay, when I get married and I have kids, this is what I want. And I made a list. I wanted her to be big and fat and just healthy and all those things that I said I wanted her to have a head full of hair. And you were literally born with hair that you could put in a ponytail. That's how long your curly hair was. And it just went crazy from there. And so, had you ever asked the question, though? You never asked about being born?
Not necessarily being born, but I'm definitely intrigued by this whole...
How old do you think you were when you realized that, oh, I'm alive? Because your brother says that his light bulb of being a being was at 4 years old. He said, this is his exact words, he said, it was just like the light bulb came on and he realized that he was a person and that there were things around him. Before that, he can't tell you anything about his life. That was like he was in total darkness and he never knew anything. Now, your youngest brother, I believe that he probably would be the kid, and I gotta ask him now, because he would be the kid that says he remembers being born, because the first thing I said when that child was born is I said he wished he was never born. He wished he could have stayed in my womb until he was 75 years old. Because even today, he has that attitude like, man, I wish I could have just stayed in her womb till I was 75, because being out here in this world with these wolves, you know, that's just how he... But when did I guess I'll use your brother's word, when did your light bulb come on?
It had to have been definitely before 4. I mean, if I already did not like people as a baby, I think I had already knew as a baby.
You did not. You did not. You
still don't.
You did not like people. Even your grandma would say, "Oh my God, that was a crying baby." She said that was a crying baby. She said, "I don't know how you got babysitters for her." And I remember one time the babysitter called your grandma, because I was at work. The babysitter called your grandma and said, "Can you come get this baby? She has cried since her mama dropped her, and nothing's wrong with her. She just don't like me."
Screaming, hollering.
So I don't know what that was all about, but I can honestly say you didn't like anybody but your mama and your dad, and that was it. And it was like, it was as if I had told you don't talk to strangers when you were in my womb. Maybe I said, like, don't talk to strangers, and you took that very serious. So I have to say thank you for choosing me to be your mother. I tell Peyton that all the time. Your sister,
problem.
I tell her I feel like spirits choose, you know, who they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
With. So I say that, and I say that with all seriousness. So as the oldest, do you remember me bringing your siblings home?
Savon and Peyton for sure.
Yeah. Well, of course you wouldn't remember Josh because you guys are just.
I only had a year to myself. So.
Yeah, you only had a year to yourself, which you hated. But do you remember me bringing? And I want your honest opinion. I'll take a good swallow.
Go ahead and get ready for this.
What was your thought when I brought Savon home, which is your next brother, not your oldest, but your next? What did you think?
I can't remember as far as like doing the math, but I remember being like young and feeling like I had to,
something like that.
Yeah, something like that, and like already feeling like I had to take on that like parental role of helping do the diapers and stuff,
And
which
you
I had no problem with.
I was gonna say, but then you realized you really didn't have to do that because
I didn't, but I wanted to. But I also felt like that's a big
that was
role.
one thing I was like, well, no kid has to take care of another kid. Like I want them to play together and be siblings, but you don't have to like be a maid or anything like that. So, but yeah, what about Peyton? By the time she came home, you was just like, I'm done. No.
I was like, when does it end?
No,
but no.
you actually said to me, I really didn't want a sister. You wanted to be the only girl. And I was like, oh my goodness, kids have so many issues. What is the problem?
I really wanted to be the only one, to keep it
I
a
know.
$1.50, to keep it real with
I
you.
know. And I think if you could have been the only one, you would have probably been the most rotten, spoiled child ever. But then also, I wouldn't have gotten my dream of having multiple kids. So it's like, nobody's going to win here, okay? So being the oldest, how does that make you feel? How did it make you feel back then, and how do you feel about it now, or is it a non-factor?
It's not really. It was a role that I didn't mind taking on. Like, I know you traveling a lot in school. I mean, like, while I was in school, it was like nobody ate unless I cooked type stuff. And then, you know, my brother right under me, he would ask for
that was when you were a teenager. I'm talking about, like, when you were 10, 11, 12. Like, you know, when you're still having things done for you. Like, how did that make you feel to be like the big sister? Like, you weren't that much older than your next brother, but you were 5-6 years older than the last two. So
I mean, it felt good
to feel like I run this.
Not necessarily, but it felt good to like be needed in a way. For certain stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I'll tell you, the reason I asked that question is because I'm the youngest of 5, and all my life I had to fight. No, I'm just kidding. No, but really, when you're the 5th child, my experience, because this is not everybody's experience, I felt like I had to make my own way. But then not only that, I felt like I just had to get used to being excluded from things that the older kids want to do. And now I'm kind of mad about it because, and when I say mad, I mean in a joking way, but now that I start asking their ages, I realize that my next sister is only a year older than me, and then the other one's only like 3 years older than me. So it's like they weren't even that much older to be keeping the secrets that they were keeping. And I'm sure it was just kind of like makeup stuff and talking girl stuff and, you know, whatever they were talking about. But anyway, I was excluded. So that taught me the biggest lesson that I think, which is what my drive is today, is just make your own way and don't care if you're included. You don't need to fit in. You always can stand out and be great. So I think that's kind of the reason why I am the way I am now. There's a guy who wrote a book about where you fit into the family dynamics according to your personality, on if you were the first child, the second, the third, the fourth, fifth, or whatever. And I thought that book was interesting. I have it somewhere on my bookshelf, but when I read it, I just was like, man, this confirms everything. This is really a part of my personality. So when you were getting ready to be thought of to be created, after we found out that you were gonna be born, I had decided that I wanted to have you at a specific hospital for a specific reason. I wanted the best doctors that knew everything about women, that didn't give me. Have you ever been to the doctor and you tell them something and they go read a book and then come back and try to tell you? I cannot stand that. Even though I know they call it a practice, don't practice in my face. Right. I need to know that you feel like you are the professional that you are. But I wanted to have you at the women's hospital downtown. 1, because I always thought downtown was fancy. 2, the women's hospital was this big, white, gorgeous, huge university. It looked almost like a 4-year college university. And it just was really big. They had some of the best, in my opinion now, this is all my opinion, they had at that time the best doctors that I thought. I wanted a female doctor. I'm even like that now. I don't have any male doctors. I don't want any, and it's just my preference. I mean, I get to choose, so that is what I prefer. So I chose the women's hospital downtown on Fannin Street. Just, I felt like that was where you were supposed to be born. There were going to be really no other, there was no option number B. I didn't even make a plan B or C. I just felt like that was the best one at the time. Now, if you asked me today, anything about that hospital. I can't tell you anything, but I'm sure they're just as wonderful as they were then. We had the best insurance, you know, so it was like we could go anywhere we wanted, and I wanted the best for what we were doing. So about your birth. So here's what happened. And now I got to go all the way back to when you were 7 months in my stomach. I'm sure you've heard this story. But when you were 7 months in my stomach and I went to go get a regular routine checkup, the doctor said, there's something going on. We got to do some more tests. And I was like, okay, I'm like in La La world. There's, you know, everything's perfect. The world is great. I'm happy, whatever. And he said, you know, according to the ultrasound, they were saying that they saw a big mass. And I was like, I know you're not telling me there's another baby in there. It's like, I asked for a bunch of babies, but not all at one time. Because you have heard stories where people go and have a baby, and then all of a sudden a second baby comes out. And it's like, remember when that happened on Friends? When Phoebe had the baby for her, oh, you don't watch Friends. Okay. So on Friends, Phoebe agreed to have a baby for her brother and his wife, and then she had the baby, and she's like so happy it was done, and then they said, oh, here comes the next one, and she's like, hold up, I didn't bargain for that. But it's just very interesting. Oh, you know what? That wasn't Phoebe. That was Ross. No, not Ross. What's the one name that the two? Oh, you don't know. Anyway, one of the people on Friends had a baby through a surrogate, and when the baby, and it's the girl from Scary Movie or whatever, the blonde girl. Anyways, they had a baby, and then two came out, and they were like, oh my goodness. So anyway, I watched that story, but that's just how long ago that happened on Friends. But anyway, so come to find out, it was a cyst or a mass that was the size of a grapefruit. Now you know what a grapefruit looked like.
Yeah.
So imagine a little baby with a grapefruit. At that point, you were only about maybe 7 pounds or something, which is a normal size. Well, by the time 7 months was there and they noticed that there was this mass there, they were like, we are not going to touch her from this point because she's too, you know, young in there. We're going to wait until she's born and we're going to remove it through surgery. I was like, whoa, what do you mean? They said, well, they had to remove it because it was the size of a grapefruit. So if anybody can imagine a little 7-pound baby with a grapefruit size mass on their right ovary. So that was the drama of knowing that 7 month, 8 month, 9 month, and you went all the way to the end.
Let me tell you how I found out that I had that happen to me.
What?
I remember I was eavesdropping, hearing you talking on the phone with Grandma, and that's how I found out. And then I asked you about it. I was like, what happened to me? But yeah.
See, that's what happened. You're nosy. And that's what I'm saying. I'm surprised you hadn't asked more questions.
Yeah.
And I told you what happened then, right?
Yeah.
So see, you found out because you were nosy. I'm going to have to get my whisper game on because, I remember that though. I remember that.
Yeah.
But that was just a conversation. But yeah, it was interesting. So for 7 months, 8 months, 9 months, I had to go knowing that that was there and that you were continuing to grow. Well, you went from me being 7 months and you being a small baby to by the time they said, okay, we're going to have to induce because she's just getting too fat, you were 11 pounds. That is not a normal birth. So you were 11 pounds because of the mass, not because of you. Yeah, not because of you, because it did have weight to it. So like I told you, I never had morning sickness. I never had any kind of illness, no kind of issues, no kind of really nothing. They did mention a little gestational diabetes, but it was toward the end when everything was just kind of happening. So I think why there was so much drama is because everybody wanted to be there because, okay, there's a brand new baby going into surgery and we just want to see what this baby looked like. So anyway, they scheduled the date for us to come in and do what they call to induce labor, which means is when they force you into labor, basically. So that took probably like 10 hours. You had so many people at the hospital, it was absolutely ridiculous. You had so of course your dad and me, his mom, his sister, his brother, my dad, my dad's sister, my sisters, both of them, my brother. It was like you had a whole parade of people. One, they were so nosy they couldn't wait to see what you look like, because one thing they said is they just knew you were going to be so beautiful. See, here's something you don't know. Everybody loved me and your dad. They thought we were the sweetheart couple of life. They thought we were so cute together. Everybody used to think we were brother and sisters anyway. So they just thought, oh, with her having this baby's gonna be the bomb. She's gonna be gorgeous. So they wanted to be nosy to see what in the world you were gonna look like. So everybody was there at the hospital, and of course they weren't in the room or anything, but they were waiting out in the waiting room, and they literally waited for 10 hours. They did not go anywhere. And my dad's sister, she was there because she wanted to report back to the family what the baby looked like. She was the one that was walking down the hall going, oh my God, that's the most beautiful baby I've ever seen. And I was just like, everybody came to tell me what she had done, and I laughed so hard. But again, it took 10 hours for everything to be done. It was a very smooth birth. Like I said, I had to have the epidural, which 27 years later, here and now, I feel a pinch every 3 or 4 years or something like that. Nothing I wait for, but just when it happens, I acknowledge it, and I'm just like, wow, that's interesting how the body has such a massive recall on things that have happened with the body. So that tells you right there that different trauma things do happen. And I think if your birth would have been traumatic, you probably would hold some of that, but you didn't have a traumatic birth. You just had an interesting birth. Now, what they did when they took you in that surgery room, I'll never know. I wasn't in there. So, you know, I think I was more excited to see you because of being worried about it than I was worried about if you were going to be cute, because I was kind of conceited at that time, and I thought, well, there's no way she can't be cute. Like,
what you mean kind of at that time?
I mean, because it was like, her dad is cute, I'm cute. I mean, if we had an ugly baby, you know. And I know people give that little fake story about, well, I don't care what the baby looks like as long as it's healthy. Okay, yeah, all of that is fine, and let's just make all of that a given. I wanted cute babies, okay? And I already knew that with the faith that I got, they were going to be healthy. So I wasn't worried about that. It was just, I knew that, you know, I wanted to see what us together looked like in another human. So that was very, very interesting. So again, you had all those people at the hospital. Of course, they took you in the back. You had the surgery. I told you who all was there and everything. So you had the surgery. Everything went fine. And again, the reason is because you had a massive cyst the size of a grapefruit. And the reason they had to immediately take you into surgery is because they wanted to test it to make sure it was not cancerous. And it was not. So once I know, right? So once they removed it, they realized that it was not cancerous, and so everything went absolutely fine. Now, okay, as a baby, you did not like people.
Still don't.
Now, it's funny how you didn't like people. Now you like people, but you don't like children. Well, you don't want. It's like you have just flipped the switch.
I love children. I'm one of the, you know, the favorite cool aunties that'll actually take the time and play with you and stuff. But I don't want none of my own.
But as we thought about this topic, I think I realized why you didn't like people.
Why?
Because people fawned all over you all the time.
Oh, yeah.
When we would go out to eat, you would have like this one Mexican lady. She told me that the reason why they have to touch the baby is because if they don't, then they feel like something might happen to it, so they touch it as a blessing. So you always had people coming up to you, touching on you, saying, "Oh, she's so." Now, of course, I didn't let people touch you in your face because like that's a sin if you touch somebody's baby in the face or kiss them in the face. And, like that's a fight. So no, that didn't happen. But you always had people coming up to you, touching you on your shoulder, or they would grab you by your hand and like say little blessings, and everybody would, like, we would be in the store and people would just gather around to see the baby. All the way up until you were at least 3 years old, people they just couldn't believe how absolutely cute you are. Wow. And it was really kind of crazy. So when people see your picture, they're gonna see, oh wow, that was a cute baby, and it was a very, very pretty baby. But I just couldn't believe that people always were fawning all over you, and you got a lot of stares. And so I think that taught you not to like people, because you're just like, they're just gonna stare at me, they're gonna touch me, they're gonna be all in my face with their hot breath, and they're just gonna be making a big deal over me. So I think that might have contributed to you actually not liking people. What you think?
That definitely sounds true and makes sense, because now I have every baby I come across stare at me.
Well, that's funny, because I remember, you don't remember her that much. You just remember she had a dog, right?
Yeah.
But my aunt Elnora, one thing she said to me when she first ever saw you is she said, this baby right here is going to know stuff. And I said, what do you mean by that? She said, I don't know if she's going to be psychic or if she's going to be very intuitive. She said, but this one right here is going to know stuff. And I thought, wow, like she stared at you and immediately said that, and it kind of freaked me out. But I just kind of like, you know, I'm going to be honest with you, there was a lot of things that she said to me when I was a kid all the way up to an adult that I brushed off because I thought, well, she's just an old lady talking. But now I realize a lot of the stuff she said was true. Yeah. Like I can tell you 3 or 4 things right now that she said was true, that even I have to tell your grandma, remember when Aunt Elnora said that? And your grandma said she knew what she was talking about. So I don't know. We'll see what it means, you know, what she said about you. But I just thought that thinking about this conversation we were going to have, I'm thinking that's the reason you didn't like people back then, is because all they were going to do is fawn all over you.
And I probably knew and peeped that they was. But yeah.
And it's so funny how you and your sister are the polar opposites, because she liked all the attention. I remember we were in the grocery store and she was in a basket and this guy was saying something to me, and then he said, "Oh my goodness, what is your baby name? She's so pretty." And she said, "My name Cutie." That man laughed so hard. It's at the store right here at H-E-B on the corner. That man laughed so hard he almost fell in the store. He said, "That's right, baby. No, you cute." But she loved the attention, whereas you were kind of like, "Get out of my face. Don't talk to me." That's how you were. And I think you're still kind of like, "Don't talk to me until I talk to you. And if you don't talk to me, we don't have nothing to talk about." But I think if it wasn't you being with your dad and your mom, because I did for you and all the rest, but for you, because you were the first and the oldest and the firstborn, I hid you from negativity. I hid you from crazy stuff. I hid you from just letting any old body keep you. I mean, you know, people that were babysitter, and you didn't have many. I mean, you only had a couple or somebody or family or whatever. But I wasn't going to just leave any kids in just the hands of just anybody who had a daycare license. That doesn't mean anything to me, that you have a license. I just want to know what your character is. And because you didn't like people, I felt like we don't need any more drama around this, since you already didn't like people. And when I say that, I'm really serious. You did not like people. I mean, even when your grandma, and they wanted to hold you so bad, especially Ain't Smart, they wanted to hold you so bad, but you just were like, "I don't want to." And then as soon as I would get you, and I didn't hold you all the time like that to make you spoil, so it wasn't a spoil thing. It was I don't know you like that thing, and I'm not trying to get to know you like that. So
literally how I am today. I don't know you, and I'm not trying to get to know you.
So anything else about the actual born day before we go into the next part? Anything interesting, or like, what do you think?
Not necessarily, but that does make me want to go look back and find that. I do remember that one video my dad recorded while you was in the hospital, before you was giving birth, of course.
Do you have it?
Not in my possession. It's got to be somewhere in your house in the garage.
No,
maybe.
I don't. Well, I have so many VHS. I could start a whole Blockbuster. I could bring Blockbuster back and supply the whole suburbs over here, because I got a lot of VHS. So yeah, because I have my bridal shower, I have my wedding, of course, I have all y'all parties. I mean, when what was that? Josh had the Barney. That was Savon had the Barney came to the house. Josh had the Ninja Turtles came to. They came and fought at that. Not the Ninja Turtles, but the Power Rangers.
Yeah, the Power Rangers.
Yeah, because his dad played Power Ranger. So that was really cool. But that's good though. I wanted to make sure that you knew that story, so that you now have a story to tell your child when you're 75 years old.
If I have one.
No, that's what I mean. When you're 75 and you decide to have a child. So no, but just so you'll have that story, because that might be a story that you may share with your friends. That may be a story that when people say, "Well, Angie, why are you like that? Why you don't like people?" You can say, "Because, you know, when I was little, my mom said people are always in my face, and so I don't like all that attention, so I am the way I am." That's actually the only way I really can explain it for it to even make sense, because I'm a people person now. I know how to not be a people person. Like, I don't have to always be around people. I really prefer to be to myself and in my own thoughts and everything else. But I'm around a lot of people just simply because I learn from people. I grow through people. So I kind of force myself to really want to be around people, because it's such a great, rewarding experience. So, any questions? Because that was interesting to tell that story. I've told it a million times. I'm surprised you haven't.
I mean, like I said,
I've
been a single for about more than a little bit over a year, and I think I'm reverting back to how it was when I was a baby, not fooling with people or liking people. It actually makes a lot of sense now that we're sitting here talking about it. But yeah, my meter is running out with certain people.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, the older that I'm getting, I'm the same. I don't have a large circle. I don't call everybody my friend.
Right.
I don't associate with people who are negative. I don't have a lot of people in my face. I pick and choose. Like, I am in a setting right now of, if I don't choose to be a part of that group, then I'm not in it. Like, for instance, you know, I love my car club. The one thing I love about that car club is that we know nothing personal about each other. They don't know how many kids. We don't know where we work at. We don't know anything. All we know is we talk about our cars and how much fun we have with those little Mini Coopers, right?
Yeah.
So we don't have any personal relationships. I don't have their phone numbers, their emails, or nothing. If I don't find them on that Mini Cooper app on Facebook in our group, I don't know how to reach them. I just had somebody last week ask me if I could give them the name of the president, her phone number, and her email. I was like, I don't know that. I can tell you when our next meeting is, but I don't know anything personal about these people. And I'm like that in every group. It's like if I'm there for business, then we're going to talk about business. If I'm there for the cars, we're going to talk about cars. If I'm there for hair, we're only talking about hair. I don't mix and mingle those type of conversations because I'm not the one that says, hey, come and hang out with me. I don't really associate like that. And it's not because I'm getting to the point where I don't like people, but it's more that I'm into what do I really want and what do I not want. And it's more about, okay, family and my own personal life. So I'm not really, I don't need, and that's, like I said, I stopped going to clubs when I was much, much younger, 25 years old, because it just wasn't the scene. But I love that you realize that you're going through these phases, but this probably makes even more sense now that you say you're reverting back, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Are there any funny movies that you remember that had like birthing stories? And I know my favorite one is Baby Mama with Tina Fey. You know that one?
Yeah.
I think the funniest part about that movie is if you think about it and all the drama that she went through to want to have the baby with them, and the girl's boyfriend being weird and just wanting the money, and them faking, and her not even really doing what she was being paid to do. I think that's the funniest movie. And Tina Fey's funny anyway, but that whole movie thing is really, really, really funny. And any movies you like?
I just remembered just a couple days ago, I love Jim Carrey. I was watching Me, Myself, and Irene.
Yeah.
And it's different when you're older watching movies like that, but I totally forgot that he had so much trauma happening to him that it made him like create another personality. But the girl that did so much to him at the beginning that he was in love with, she had cheated on him with a guy, and by the time that she had the baby, he thought that they were his babies, but the babies was coming out a whole different race, so that's how he found out that they weren't his babies, but he still raised them like they were his own, of course. But that movie's really funny.
But I could tell you the good thing that, and this is just me, my own personal thing, I know this happens different from other people, but for me, the whole process of giving birth and knowing that I was going to have another human being coming out of my body, I never had a negative thought. I never thought, well, what if something goes wrong? What if when she's born it is? I never harbored those thoughts.
Yeah. And
it wasn't because I knew better not to. I just didn't. I just didn't. That other movie that I like, and I think you said even J-Lo was in it. I remember Cameron Diaz was in it, but it was What to Expect When You're Expecting. I think I like that movie so much because I don't know if they still do it today, because of course I haven't had a child in 20-something years almost, but they used to give that book to you when you go to the first doctor's appointment. They give you that book for first-time moms, and I still have mine. I still have my book, and my goal is to pass it down to whichever one of my daughters, not my sons, but my daughters, whichever one of my daughters has their first child.
Not gonna be me. But I know if I do ever decide to have a kid, a child,
or 7 or 10.
Anyway, I know I do want to try the water birth.
You told me that last week, and it freaked me out because
I knew that for a long time.
Okay, but here's the deal too. You got to think about me. I don't like being in water like that.
I do.
Now I like to take a bath in a tub, but any other purpose of being in water, I can't understand. Like oceans, and I don't understand. Like I'll do it and take a picture and get out, but I'm not a swimmer, and I just don't. It seems like that would be painful. What have you heard about it that made you say, I think I would try this option? Because it sounds to me like it would be absolutely painful. Then you're in water, and what if?
Well, I know like babies.
The baby has no problem because it's already doing its thing in there, and but why did you choose that option if?
I used to watch a lot of documentaries and stuff about it, but from what I know about it, it's the water that calms like your muscles and just really calms everything.
Cold water, hot water, or lukewarm? What they say?
I want to say it's lukewarm. It's not cold or too hot, but I want to say it's lukewarm. But I also think and believe that you should not be laying on your back pushing something out. I think you need to be like in squatting positions, and like they say our ancestors used to.
Yeah, everybody has their right to feel what they feel, and I think that every person should be comfortable to do it the way they want to do it. Would you have to use a doula for that, or do they do that in the hospital? I don't know.
I would want a doula, but I think that, it'd be better to have gravity working with you and squatting and,
Well, let's get Erica Badu number, because she do that, right? And she's just in Dallas.
That's, if I am ever in a point where I'm with someone and, like, I know, because it's one of those things, if you know, like, I know for a fact I was not finna have no baby with my ex that I was with. But yeah, I mean, when you know. But right now, I'm in a selfish phase in my life. But if I ever do get to that point, I already know, and have been knowing for years, probably since I was in high school, that I want to do a water birth.
Wow. Any favorite childhood story? Just one. Do you have one? I know for me, my favorite childhood story is going to make you laugh, but what's one of your favorite childhood stories that you can remember that no matter what, every now and then, sometimes our brain does it, has a great recall that you'll think of a story and it just makes you laugh? Because I know something your sister tells me all the time, and she say, oh, when we all lived in the house together, we were funny. And I was like, y'all were? I was too busy trying to feed y'all to make sure you were alive. I don't remember the funny. Yeah, we had funny time. What's a funny thing or something that you remember, y'all, when y'all were kids? And when I say that, I'm talking about like under 13.
Ooh.
Yeah, like something funny or...
Under 13? I don't know about under 13, but I'll never forget that time we went to Destin and you told us to look one way.
Man, y'all were already in high school and stuff. No, I'm talking about younger.
I don't know about younger. I'd have to really think about that. I don't know.
Remember
funny? I don't know.
Disney trips? No? Nothing fun?
We were older than 13.
Oh, you think so? Okay. Well,
I was in high school
that's probably true
year.
Because I waited until the youngest one was a certain age before I started traveling with y'all. Yeah. Only because I know that it's pretty difficult when you've got 2 in a stroller and 2 you got to hold hands with to make sure nobody snatch your children and all that.
Yeah.
So it was, be very difficult to take people who couldn't walk so I never took y'all on far vacations when you were babies. If it wasn't family, if it wasn't to Louisiana to see family, if it wasn't something like that, I just didn't want to get on an airplane with kids. And plus, when you get on an airplane and you hear a baby cry, everybody give that baby the stank look like the baby can control their crying. And I'm just like, come on, y'all, get over it. If you don't want to hear noise, put your headset on and mind your business. But don't look at people stank just because their baby starts to cry. These people, they trying to do the best they can. Just being a parent, I know you can only do the best you can. Well, I know a story that I can remember. We thought we were so cool. My mom had rented a little Mustang, and I ain't talking about the cute ones today. I'm talking about the old in the 80s. They rented a Mustang with the top. It was a sunroof, but it covered the whole top of the roof, so the whole top was glass-like. Mm-hmm. And it was them old ones where you had to crank it up. And we were heading down the highway to Opelousas, Louisiana. And this was a rental car. And the wind was blowing so hard that it blew the glass off the roof.
How old were you?
All of us were, I probably was 8, 7, something like that. But can you imagine in the backseat of a small Mustang, 4 to 5 children sitting back there?
And all that glass?
No, the glass didn't come in the car. It flew out.
Oh.
It was like, it was the one that you had to crank up.
How many kids in the back?
5 in a Mustang. Now must be really skinty, right?
What?
But listen, like the flat part was like that, and then the glass set up like that. It was old school. And so when I guess the wind was so much force, and it was a rental car, so of course we wasn't finna see if it was secure before we left on the road. You just take for granted that when you get a rental car, it's perfect. Well, just know people dog them out. But anyway, another story, another day.
Either that or Grandma was really flooring it and was excited she got a drop top.
Probably. I mean, she does have a heavy foot, So yeah, you're probably right. But that thing flew off, and all we could do was put a plastic bag up there. But all we know is that we didn't even really care because we just had the anticipation of getting to the family, seeing all of our cousins and everything. All I know is I wanted my Aunt Dora B's biscuits. I could care less if the whole car got on fire because I was just ready to be able to see all of family and just really, really, really know that we just had fun. I know I have a lot of stories. Do you have any other stories that definitely, pertain to brothers and sisters and all that stuff? Because there's just a lot of things that really go on in a family. If you really be honest with it, there's a lot that goes on in a family.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely remember our annual trips we would go on, like family trips to Fiesta, Texas or SeaWorld. Mm-hmm. Me getting my hair braided in the van on the way there.
That's right, got to be prepared.
Had braids always.
Yeah, because you had too much hair. I mean, it was just, it was a problem with you going to school every day and me having to get up and comb your hair every day. So it was like when I discovered braids, it was like, okay, I can get her hair braided and then it can continue to grow, and then we really don't have to go through all of this getting the hair braided and all that stuff. So I just didn't really want to do all of that. So I didn't really want to do that. So whatever the easiest way is. And so think about it, by the time you were in middle school or something like that, there were 4 kids to take care of. Did you ever feel slighted? Like somebody was getting more attention than you?
Absolutely. It's always the youngest.
You felt like somebody
Always.
was getting the more attention than you? Okay.
I wouldn't say more attention.
Because
but
I remember
mean,
y'all used to vote in the house on who was the most spoiled and who I liked the most. And I thought that was horrible that you would say that.
Well, that's kind of like... It's funny because I'm kind of watching Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and
some of the
they
old
always
shows.
say, and they always say that Kim's the favorite. But then like
they
Kris
say
Jenner,
that?
but then Kris Jenner sometimes would say like my favorite child, like come over here, my favorite child. Like I know it'd be a joke, but people be crying in their car about that. Some people, not me, but
Really?
I mean, you know, like me and Josh, we used to, when we would get in trouble, we would get our phone taken for months.
Yeah.
Just
And,
about.
and also, when y'all would go to bed, I mean, what was bedtime? 7:30 or 8?
I can't remember, but we
Yeah,
rebelled.
7:30 you would get prepared. You'd have the thing was you walk in the door from school, you get your bath. When you get your bath, you sit down and do your homework. Then you eat. Now, whatever little 2 hours y'all had to play, you know it was time to go to bed at 7:30. 7:30 we had a little thing where you put your phone in, right? And the phone thing would stay in the living room and you need to go to bed. I mean, that's just I know I ran my
Allegedly.
house. Yeah, I know, because y'all think y'all slick. But I had to run my house like I was in the military, only because I just knew that when you have a lot of kids, you have to learn how to manage them. So you felt slighted in what way as being the oldest? Because you oldest kids, y'all something. How did you feel slighted?
I know, like I was saying, I know we, like me and my brother, a year younger than me, we would get our phone taken away for months versus like our younger sister, she wouldn't have hers taken away for like not even 2 days max. Me and Josh, we would be like, what done happened? Did she just get tired? After Peyton came, she just got tired, worn out. We done did everything we could.
I told you the first baby is the crash dumb baby.
Yeah, I done tried and did it all.
Because you would try to do everything. I remember when you were about 2 or 3 years old, you had the cutest little blue outfit on. It had daisies all over it. That's probably why you like daisies now. That was the cutest outfit you ever had, and you have a lot of pictures in that outfit. But it was a little onesie that had the little straps on the thing. It was so cute. And you were jumping on the bed, and I said, "Stop jumping on the bed, Angelique. Stop jumping." And you were just having so much fun. You were laughing, jumping on the bed. I said, "Stop jumping on the bed." And you did not want to stop jumping on the bed. And so when you fell off that bed, you was like, "Oh, okay, I'm stop jumping on the bed." I said, "Okay, well, she gonna learn real quick that when somebody tell her to do something, she's gonna do it." Now, these were in your days of being the only one. You were all by yourself.
My 365 days.
Exactly. But, that's the thing. So what do you think you would tell if you decide to have children down the road? What do you think you would tell your child if you have more than one child? Like you have this one child and then now all of a sudden you're getting ready to have another one, just so that you can explain to them you're about to share this space with someone else. And so it's not just about you anymore. It's about both of you, and that you love them the same. Because people have asked me before, well, which one of your kids you love the most? And I'm like, that's a dumb question to me personally. That's just me talking. That's a dumb question to me personally, because you never have more love for the other one. You just have a different type of love. Like, for instance, all 4 of y'all have different personalities. In my house, I had every element there was. Wind, fire. I mean, all of y'all had them all. All of you have different birthdays, different signs. So I know that talking to one is not the way you talk to the other, is not the way you talk to the next one or the next one. So what advice would you think you'd give your kid, knowing what you know, how you've been born, how you grew up, what your position is in the family, how you felt about things? What do you think you would tell your kid, just so that when they're ready to have that conversation with you, they wouldn't feel like they were slighted?
Because I'm in a phase right now where I'm not thinking about kids at all. It's really hard to say, but I know that working in daycares, I had this little boy. He had a sister as well, but she would come in, the mom, she would come in and like on Wednesdays it'd be his day for him and her to do something together. So he'd take her out of the daycare and then she'd have her own day, type thing. So just do and say certain things where kids know that there's not a favorite, and that although the other kid is being treated differently, they're being loved the same way, and there's no favorite. But I definitely know that. But as far as words, I'm not sure, because I ain't thinking about no kids. So.
Right. So what do you think you would do, though, to let your kid know that the other kid is not the favorite, but that you love them equally, just you're going to love each one of them differently according to what their personality is? What do you think would be fair to say?
I don't know about what to say.
So stop right there. I like that you don't know what to say, because I want you to go back to me not knowing what to say when y'all used to say that you thought one or the other one was the favorite. You don't know what to say because you don't see it from that perspective. You don't even know that that's happening.
Yeah.
The other person only knows that that's happening. That's why when I have people call me and they say certain things and I go, well, we really don't know what's really happening. You know, we hear stuff on TV all the time, on YouTube, whatever. And I have to always look back and say, now there are some times that my spirit is just like, oh, yeah, that happened like that. And then there are times it's like, I feel like there's something missing. So I really don't know what's going on. But so overall, how was that born day story?
That was pretty interesting considering I'm 27 and just now hearing this.
Yeah, well, now tell the truth. You're just now hearing it in full because obviously you were eavesdropping.
Yeah.
And you heard a portion.
The
and
pieces
you got
are put together.
Yeah. The puzzle has been put together. So I tell you, doing this podcast, I already know it's going to be so much fun. There's going to be so many things revealed. There's going to be so much aha. There's going to be so many stories that maybe you've never heard. I know there's going to be stories I never heard, and some are going to be shocking, I'm sure. I already just know because you're the shock jock. I call you the shock jock. I mean, just anything. It's like, okay, wait a minute. But this is just going to be interesting. But again, I will encourage you. I'll encourage you to have this conversation with your mom and just ask about your born day. But then also daughters. If you have daughters, ask your daughter if they're interested in hearing about their born day. But just make sure you have the conversation because these are stories that what I'm hoping is that my daughter will tell her daughter that will tell her daughter and her daughter and her daughter. And then I'm hoping that in 100 years, this birth story goes on. That's what I hope. And that's the purpose of the conversation. Just like we have history, the only reason we have history is because somebody told the story back then and it carried on and it carried on and it carried on. So that is the whole purpose of having these conversations. So I had a lot of fun.
I did too.
I thought it was interesting. It took me right back to, it's so funny how your mind will take you back to the exact day in which something happened. So that's the story of your born day, you know, very interesting. So I hope that the listeners have had an interesting thought process on it. And again, when you're done listening to this podcast, ask your mom what your born day was like and what happened leading up to your birth, and get those juicy details. And even if you have to write them down so that you can continue to tell that story. But I guarantee you, no matter how exciting or how dull, doesn't even matter. Let's just say you get the message, you were born. That to me is still exciting because that tells me a whole lot about why I am the way I am. So I just find it very, very exciting. So I'm hoping that you guys will do what we asked, which we ask you to like the story. We ask you to share the story. We're asking you to subscribe so you'll know when we're coming on and we're having these interesting conversations. And we also want them to do what?
Tell every woman you know about the Mother-Daughter-ish show.
Tell everybody that you know. Every woman you come in contact with, let them know about our show and let them know that we're on all platforms on planet Earth. I mean, we're on every platform you can think of all around the world. So bye for now.
Bye.
Hey, it's Miss Dawn. You're wondering how you can support our show, Mother-Daughter-ish? We have Cash App, we have PayPal, and we do have Vimeo. Support our show so that we can reach out to more women. Our goal is to reach and build a community of 1 million women. Why don't you come on and help us do that?
Have you been looking for the right bags and accessories to go with your perfect summer or fall outfits like me? Visit the Brigati Collections website. You won't be disappointed. The Brigati Collection not only carries vegan leather, but they also carry 100% genuine leather as well. All leather goods to include vegan are limited edition, meaning limited quantity of styles and colors to produce, which are about less than 50, so it will be first come, first serve. The website is www.burgatticollection.com. That's B as in boy, ORGOTTI collection.com. There are over 75 products to choose from, so go ahead and head on over to their website and please make sure you take advantage of your chance to sign up and win a gift. I personally came across a few sunglasses and crossbodies I'm going to have to cop soon, so I hope you do the same and notice that there's free shipping always. And we didn't forget about you fellas either now. Make sure you check out their unisex aviators and bags as well.
Wanting to book us for your show? It could be an expo. It could be any type of women's event. Contact Miller Booking Agency at mail.com. We're looking forward to meeting and greeting with you. Are you looking to connect with us, the Mother-Daughter-ish Show? Guess what? We're going to be in a city near you. Our first stop is in October. We are on Eventbrite under Wonderful Women Unite. Check out Eventbrite to connect with us in Costa Mesa, California, October 21st through October 25th. Look on Eventbrite and connect with us. Hey, we're looking forward to seeing you.